Please welcome your host, Nick Aldinger.
Hi, and welcome to the second installment of Business Builder Insights. I'm your host, Nick Aldinger. Business Builder Insights is a thought-provoking six-part speaker series designed to help you, the business owner, and decision makers help scale your company. Over the course of the six-part series, we'll be interviewing dynamic panelists consisting of successful executives, entrepreneurs, and local subject matter experts who will be talking on topics directly affecting small and medium-sized businesses. Business Builder Insights is absolutely free, and our goal is to simply equip you with the tools and resources necessary to help positively impact your bottom line and help grow your company. Today's segment is all about building a company that lasts. It's titled A Leadership Case Study, Proven Methods for a Sustainable Company. But before we introduce our panelists to the stage, I'd like to remind you to stick around for the traction segment that will immediately follow our panel's discussion. The traction segment, presented by Profit Creek, is hosted by Brent Otkin. In today's segment, Brent's going to be breaking down why clarity is so important to the decision-making process. He's also going to give you the tools and framework to make better decisions. And he's also going to be giving away a free ebook today titled Decide, the One Common Denominator in All Great Leaders by Gino Wickman. So be sure to stick around for the traction segment immediately following our panel's discussion. I also want to thank our sponsors. Business Builder Insights wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors. So I'd like to thank our premier sponsors, Strategic Tax Solutions, BBSI, and Profit Creek. Our media sponsor, Iliad Media Group, and today's October session sponsor, IBL Events. Thank you, sponsors. And also, if you like the speakers and content provided on Business Builder Insights, we invite you to attend our in-person event, Business Builder Day, on May 6th, 2021 at the Galaxy Event Center. Here we'll have keynotes, seminars, networking, and we'll be showcasing some of the best companies the Treasure Valley has to offer. So this is a business-to-business event you will not want to miss. And registration is free at businessbuilderday.com. So let's take a few minutes to hear from our sponsors while we bring our panelists on stage, and we'll be right back, and thanks again for joining us today. Thank you.
You know BBSI for the expertise and support our local business partners provide. Now discover an enhanced level of access and control with MyBBSI, a proprietary online portal that puts the power of information into the hands of you and your team. Streamline your human resources activities with 100% paperless onboarding. Simplify payroll with direct integration of data from TimeNet. Then calculate and process payroll in minutes. Put your data to work for you with powerful reporting tools and discover new insights into your business operations. Discover what MyBBSI can do for your organization. Call or write today to speak with a specialist.
So, you're a business owner, or the marketing director, or the PR guy, maybe even lead of sales.
My office, right now, Jack.
Problem is, you're likely all of these things and need Iliad Media Group to help you be heard and found. Get back to business as usual. You probably think you can handle all of the demanding marketing requirements to succeed in today's business world, telling yourself, it's fine if I miss some things. I can do it myself. I don't need help. My cousin's a graphic designer. Realistically, there's just way too much to do for one person. You need a team that can help get you found online, place your marketing in front of the right demographic, have your message heard by real people, be transparent about insights and reporting, craft a clear story for your brand, help grow your bottom line, and advise you as marketing specialists who have your best interest in mind. Whew, I think you know where I'm going with this. Introducing Iliad Media Group. We do the unusual so you can get back to business as usual.
Welcome back to Business Builder Insights. I'm your host, Nick Aldinger. Today's topic is a leadership case study, proven methods for a sustainable company. Now, building a sustainable company, we're talking about building a company that lasts. But a recent study from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that over 20% of companies fail within the first 2 years, and 45% fail within the first 5 years, and 65% fail within the first 10 years. But why is that? Is it a lack of planning, a lack of financial support, maybe bad business acumen, or a mixture of both? But what we want to find out is what makes successful companies last. And today on stage with me, we have some of the best individuals and experts when it comes to building sustainable companies. They've built companies that have lasted through tough times. They've built companies that thrive during great times. And we want to tap into their knowledge and understanding to better understand what makes a company last. So with me today, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists today. We have Amy Gile, co-founder and CEO of Silverdraft Supercomputing.
Thank you for having me.
Dan Puga, president, In Time Tech.
Thanks.
And Tressa McClaughlin, CEO and president of SOLV.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here today. And we have a lot to talk about regarding companies that last and how to build these companies and what has worked for you. But first of all, I think it's really important for the audience to kind of understand a little bit about your company. So I'm going to start with you, Amy. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, how long it's existed, and a little bit about your role in your company?
Absolutely. So I am the founder and CEO of Silverdraft. Silverdraft Supercomputing really started in 2015. However, really 2011 was when I really started working on the technology and evolving the company into what it is today. We are a technology company that focuses on the full solution to enable artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, how you can visualize content and data, but we look at it from a full solution where we're actually building the compute and workflows to enable really, really challenging, innovative things.
That's great. And again, how long have you been in business?
So we started in 2015 with Silverdraft Supercomputing, but we started developing the technology prior to that.
Yeah, so we're going to want to talk about that because there's probably a little shift. It evolved.
Oh, big shift.
Right.
We adapt and we adjust per what is needed in the market and how the technology is evolving and how our clients can adopt that technology and utilize that technology to create really, what we call the impossible.
Great.
So helping make the impossible possible for our clients.
Great. And Dan, how about your company?
In Time Tech, we've started in 2009, and we're a bootstrapped company that started with, we have 5 business partners. Jeet is our CEO and has led from the front since the beginning. And we started off just doing websites to try to do something. We were tired of the corporate life, and we all just decided to go build a software company. We started with 5 college hires in 2009, working out of a basement office in India and me working from home here. And then we've transitioned now. We have about 450 employees in India and 2 offices. We are building our first office building in India, which will be done probably around February timeframe. And we have 62 employees here in the U.S. Working on local client sites. And it's been a lot of transition through that process. We've had to evolve who we are as leaders and growing leaders around us, really establishing our culture strongly, and really working hard to make sure we have partnerships that are really around win-win or no deal. That's a big part of how we work. And so my role is president, and then I also, so I have a lot of operational roles, but I also work on new product development and innovations, and we have a few products over the last 5 years. I can relate to what Amy's saying. It's like, wow, this should take really a short period of time, and it takes a long time to really find the niche for your market and really listen to customers, what they're needing. And so that's another focus area for me.
Great.
Yeah.
And how about you, Tressa?
I am the president and CEO of SOLV, and our story is a little different. We actually started in 1975 as Idaho Business Forums, and it was a local company, sole owner at the time, and at the time we were a distributorship and a manufacturer, so it was really interesting learning both sides of the house. And then the owner decided to sell the company, and as a mechanism to do that, we became a company-owned location of Safeguard, and then became a franchise, and I and my business partner were able to buy the business back in 2015. So we've seen a lot of change in our company, going from a very small startup to where we're at now. We're nationwide, have a really large presence in Idaho, and just all the dynamic changes of when you start with handwritten forms and how that works through a business to now we're doing data processing, promotional products, apparel, all sorts of different products and services, and how you keep up with that. It's interesting.
So, yeah, and there's a perfect example, kind of like what Amy was talking about at the beginning, is that you had to adapt to keep moving forward, right? It wasn't exactly maybe the vision you had when you first started the company, but you had to stay ahead of the game. But let's talk about that just really quick. Let's talk about when it comes to building a system that really worked for your company throughout the process over the years that really stood out for you based on an example within your company. Dan, I'll start with you on this one.
Okay, and you're talking about a process.
Yeah, what is one example that really stood out for you is when it comes to, what separated your company to make it long-lasting, to be sustainable, based on the process, especially for you for 11 years now?
Yeah, and probably less of a process and more of a mindset. I'd say maintaining a level of commitment without attachment. The attachment to this is how it must be would have limited where we could have gone, and being open to just watching how things are unfolding. And I think the other process we use, we were having a conversation with some folks last night, and we're just sharing, it's like there's a lot of people who think their way through life, but they don't do much. And our focus is on, okay, take action. Don't get locked up in worry, doubt, and fear, but take an action. And then in that action, the game continues to evolve and you can continue to play. But if you get stuck in analysis paralysis and you don't know what you should do, and you're afraid to take big risks or take on big tasks, it limits what's possible. And so for us, really, we spend a lot of time in the land of, quote, possibility. People don't fail. They're either succeeding or learning. And that process has helped us to really navigate things that most people would probably shy away from.
Okay. And how about you, Tressa?
I'm going to take off of your possibilities, because that's a big piece of my job, as well as something that we talk about culturally in our company, is what are the possibilities. Our role is to really listen to our customers and see where their businesses are going. And if you think about us, as we start out with forms, well, paper is going to go away because of computers. So how is that going to go away? Where is that going to fit? How are you going to replace paper with process? How are you going to still do the functions you need as a business, and being open to listening to what your customers want, and then also bringing that back internally to the team and say, why not? Why can we do this? Should we do this? If we want to, how does that look? And I think that's been how our company has evolved over the years, is really keeping an open mind and listening to feedback from internal customers as well as external.
Interesting. And Amy?
It's fascinating to hear both of your perspectives on that, because that is our motto as well. I mean, the ability to take significant risks and see those risks as opportunity to adapt and adjust. I mean, there's been multiple times, a lot of the things you just saw in the video were impossible things that were very short time frame that we, if we do it, it could fail. And if it fails, we're to blame. Regardless if it's our fault or not, right? So having the compute and the workflow and the technology to enable that is risky. And being able to shift and adapt, I tell my team, okay, yes, you have your lane, you're driving down your lane, but sometimes you just need to pass, right? And so taking those risks and being willing to see risk as opportunity and adjust as you need to adjust. And you adjust per what your clients need and want, not what you need and want, right? So, technology is an interesting thing because we can build incredible technology, but if it's not what is needed or what the clients need, then it's completely useless, right? So we can't be so stuck in our box that this is so cool and this is so neat and we'll convince everybody that they need to do this and they want this. No, you've got to listen to them, have understanding of where the technology is going, and then adapt the technologies for those needs, and then train them, educate them, and enable how they're going to use that technology. So that's how we shifted and adjusted from being just really high performance compute for visualization to being willing to take the risk of giving our knowledge to our clients and training and helping them learn how to use the technology. It was it's a big adjustment, but something absolutely necessary.
And so much risk involved, right, with making
so much risk.
that right decision.
Right.
But what's interesting is as we're talking is it's not so much maybe a single process or tool that really sets you apart. It's really being agile and being able to recognize when to make that change. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot more involved, and we'll get into some of it too, but let's talk about embracing change. I mean, we're seeing it right now. I mean, so this is very important because with COVID, obviously a lot of companies we've probably overused the word pivot, but they've had to change and adapt. But you've already went through some tough times or some changes within your companies. You all have stories, but you've probably made even changes during the great times. But what about embracing change? How important is that in your environments, and how do you pass that down to the teams?
It's absolutely critical. I really expressed to my team that look for those opportunities of change, because that informs us of what we need to do. I think during this time with COVID, and I'm sure every single one of us has felt that, where, I had the moments of, I can sit and say as a company, we've had our challenges, but I've never had clients that don't pay, right? I've had, really, really great clients that have always paid. And so, that having automotive, because we work a lot in the automotive industry and media and entertainment's a big sector to us, it just completely stopped. They weren't even going into the office. And so you have that moment as a CEO and founder of the company to say, okay, now what? Our technology is exactly what people can use to get through these times. It's about remote collaboration. It's about working in virtual environments. How do you live in Japan and Germany and the United States and get in a virtual environment and design a car together? And so I just had to pause for a second and not think about Silverdraft, but think about my team, my clients, and my partners. And what were they going to need? And how could we take what we have to help them if Silverdraft survives it? But let's just pause and shift and adjust to what can help them, communicate that, and work with them to solve. And that, you can't prep for that, right? Oh my God. But that's changed, yes, we've all had major changes, but that's a whole nother thing. And with that opens up, other opportunities and other ways that people have used our technologies in ways we'd never even thought of to help get him through COVID. And, now, things are better than ever, but, we had to be willing to just pause. Whereas before it was like, go, 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 listen, get the data and information and go, go, go. There was just pause and talk to them in a different way, both clients, partners, and the team. So, big shift.
And talking about a big shift, Tressa, you had to reinvent yourself in terms of IBF was well known throughout not only Treasure Valley but throughout the state of Idaho as it was a very well known brand. But you went away from IBF when you talk about business forums, right?
Yes.
And that's a huge shift. How did you embrace that change, not only for yourself but for your team and for your clients?
Well, for me, I love change, and I change everything all the time. So for me, it's natural. I like it. I get curious about things, and I like to keep moving. For us, as a team and as a group, there's always been two sides of the house. We do a lot of data processing, a lot of data mining. We do a lot of direct mail. So it's all based on technology. And then you have the traditional side of the house, which is very print, apparel, and promo. And we never felt that we had a really good name brand for what we actually did. And we are nationwide. So what is it that we really try to do? What is it as a group? And we actually enlisted a marketing company that's here locally. And I said, I want you to interview our team. I want you to interview our customers, long-term, short-term. I want you to tell us what you hear. And interestingly enough, what they heard from our customers and what they heard from our employees was the same thing, that we actually solve our customers' problems. We provide them business solutions. We connect the dots. We go into a company and listen to what they're trying to do for the short term, but also for long term. Where do we fit? How do we help? And so when the marketing company came to us and they had some different ideas for names, and I think the third iteration was the word SOLV, I went, that one. And my business partner went, that one. Because that's what we do. We like change because we like to solve problems. The problems don't stay the same. Some of them do, some of them don't. But where do we fit? Not making things more complicated, making them more simple, making sure that you can trust the process, you can trust the supply chain, you can trust that we're going to be here in good times and bad. And how do we connect all of that together? And it has been very interesting. There's obviously that time where you have to talk to your customers a lot about the name has changed, yes. It's the same people, same values, same competencies, actually better because we can add this to the mix. So it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of different marketing platforms, and a lot of times it's just a one-to-one conversation and making sure your customers know we did change the name and this is why. This is what was behind it. And it's challenging. People still sometimes don't connect the dots until you mention, oh, remember we worked on this project, or you mention a name in the company and they're like, oh yeah, they're still there. Because that's our company. It's very tenured employees, so people remember us. But it's been fun. It's been interesting, and it's just really, I love change. And our group's really good at change. They know we like to always constantly evolve, and we normalize feedback. If a process isn't working, let's talk about it. Let's make it better. But our goal, number one goal, is to make it really simple for the customer. So it's been fun.
And how about you, Dan? Is there there's stuff that you do with your team, and you're dealing with a global team, not only just here in Meridian, Idaho, but all across the United States and in India. How do you deal with change from a global perspective?
Yeah, similar answer to the first one, which is mindset, right? There's the growth mindset and there's the fixed mindset. And one of the things that really helps us with change is that, one, you use the word embrace, but I use the word accept versus resist, because the change isn't going to change because you resist it. It's just there. And so, Jeet, we were just talking this morning. It's like, okay, that's what's so what? Now what? What's next, right? And you take that next action. And it's when we resist change, when we're mad at it, or, man, this COVID's really screwing things up, and we get, I would say it spins up your amygdala instead of your prefrontal cortex. So you're actually not even thinking, but just to go, okay, so that's what's happening. Okay, now what can I do about that? And then begin taking those actions, and that's how we've moved through change, I would say. And then, and those actions give you a sense of empowerment, like, okay, I'm doing something, right? I'm actually doing something, and the change is changing. That's what's happening. And our employees have that same mindset. Things shift, a client doesn't pay, or this happens, like, okay, so now what will we do about it? And that's a very powerful position to be looking through lenses of life. I can do something.
But what's interesting in the theme that I've heard from all three of you too is that it's just not like you're making decisions and changing just off the cuff, right? There's listening to the customers, there's collecting the data, there's listening and asking the questions not only internally but externally to then make the decision to change when we're talking about big decisions to change. And I think that's really important, and it's nice to hear. I mean, there's a commonality, even though you have three different businesses, there's a lot of commonality when it comes to change. And I'll start using the word accepting change.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I like that.
So,
We also initiate change as well. When we see something that's not working, it's like, okay, there's a breakdown. What's missing? The presence of which would make a difference next time. So our hiring practices are like, this: we're not getting quite the right people we're looking for. What's missing? Okay, let's add that to the mix. So we initiate our own change instead of repeating the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. So both of those are part of how we manage through change.
well, let's move to talking about finances. There's a lot of small, medium-sized businesses out there that struggle with financing, maybe with just understanding, am I going to take out a loan? Am I going to bootstrap this company myself? But how do I manage cash flow in a time of crisis or in good times? And hearing your feedback from a financial perspective is really interesting, and we want to hear. Especially like Dan, you mentioned the bootstrap, right? You bootstrapped it from the very beginning, and why, right? And why did it work for you? And it's not going to work for everybody, but especially when we get in that times of crisis too, is what's your mindset when it comes to cash flow? So I'll just, because I picked on you, I'll start with you, Dan,
Sure.
and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I would say that you'd have to take a hard look at your own personal financial fitness. Because if you're on the hairy edge of not taking care of your own personal financial fitness, then chances are business is going to be the same way, right? If you don't know where your money's at and how you've invested it and where you've spent it, or you're lazy with it, then that's how the business will run, right? And for us, we all had saved up quite a bit of money, which left fewer constraints, and we built it as a services business because a service business is, I do the work, you pay me. Not, okay, I'm going to invest in a product for 5 years and hopefully one day, someday, somebody pays me. That was just a choice we made. Not that one's good or bad, and we also understood software development as a business, as an industry that way. So it was a good fit for us. I would say the other reason that we bootstrapped and have stayed that way for now is that we didn't want help. and other people's money tends to get you help that you don't necessarily want. And so we didn't want to be limited in that creation of possibilities because we have to chase a payback, right? There's a reason Michael Dell bought Dell back. He's like, okay, no more analysts and things, like we need to do what's right for the company. And so for us, we feel free to make those kind of choices because, we're taking those risks personally. And then you talked about cash flow. We did learn some fun cash flow lessons early because I'd worked at HP and all of our contracts were milestone based, and so we did that with our first few clients, and then we'd miss the milestones and we're like, hey, but wait, we still need to eat. So it was more of like, hey, let's go to a monthly model, right? Let's do this. That was the first eye-opening lesson on cash flow. The other big ones that happen is you start working with large corporations, they tend to have a lot more leverage on when they pay you. Some of them have like net when we get around to it kind of terms. And so it's important to have had a line of credit put in place, not because you're making big investments, it's just to carry that, we have some clients that are like net 60, right? Well, the people who are doing the work still have to be paid. Mm-hmm. And so, these are clients that will pay, right? It's just that now how do you cover some of those gaps? And so getting credit while you don't need it is definitely critical. And that's been a game we played for, and that we didn't even have a line of credit for until about 5 years ago. Before that, we were just HELOCs and a few other things.
Wow. How about you, Amy?
Oh, we've done a lot of bootstrapping. We're very gritty, but there's a big change when it comes to ordering components and seeing the shift that was happening with COVID compared to how we manage our money now compared to before that. We were always very, conscientious about how we were going to spend our funds. We didn't have a big, massive influx of investment. We put a lot of our own money in. So again, when you're spending your own money, you have to be very careful about that. We had some, small, wonderful angel investors, but we, were really, focused on how we were going to spend that. Now, with the shifts of things, procuring product, that whole model has completely changed on the manufacturing side. And so we have to literally look at every single dollar every single day. And it has been a really great lesson to learn and adjust. Because honestly, as things have improved and adjusting and, we're looking at further investment to scale, we're going to keep that exact same mindset, because you don't know when something can shift, and you have to be able to adapt and adjust, and every dollar needs to be justified. And so I think for us, even though we were very strict with our funds prior, we've really, through this time period, have made some pretty adjustments at how we look at that, and having understanding not only is this worth the spend, but is it absolutely necessary, and will it move the needle and have the impact that we need it to have? But we talk about that as a team. Our team says, can I look myself in the mirror and say, did I earn this salary? Am I doing everything that I can to help build and push this company forward in support of, the company, and our clients and partners? Because collaboration is a big thing for us, and that expands not just within the company but beyond. And I think that's important for every company to look at, because it's not just about myself and our investors. We're investing in the team, in our clients, and the commitments to our partners. And so every dollar is needs to be treated with respect on obtaining the goals that we need to attain.
And how about you, Tressa?
For me, I like, as we said, change and possibilities, and I like seeing what we can do next. What's the next adventure? What's the next risk we can take? And the only way I feel comfortable doing that is if I know where my cash is. And so that's something that I've been mindful of ever since I've ran the company. Bad times, good times, because I know that good times aren't always sustainable. Something can come around and knock you off your game, and you have to be able to figure out, do I have the funds? Where can I go from here? What can I do to change? And so I like the fact that we look at our financials every week. We look at where we're at. We look at how we're trending, our forecasts versus our actuals. Did we do better than expected? Did we not do as well as we thought? What do we need to do more of? What do we need to scale back on? And I think cash is king, knowing where your cash is. You had an excellent point of making sure you have a line of credit, making sure you have a good relationship with your bankers when times are good, making sure that you have a sustainable company, making sure you're looking at the growth patterns. And then the other piece for me is when I look at our money for the company, I always have this perception that it's my role that I'm providing for all of the families in the companies. It's not just their employees, it's their families as well. And I need to make good decisions. I need to know where our money is. I need to know that this is a company that's going to last for the next 40 years, so that maybe their kids and kids can work for us as well. So we're pretty mindful of it all the time. I just think that's a necessary thing, especially if you went through the recession. 2007, 2008 wasn't as fun for businesses, but fortunately we had made sure we knew what we were doing, and we were able to scale and grow as we need to. And I think this is a great time of opportunity. So how can we lean into it? And if you've been fiscally responsible, there's some opportunities out there for you.
Yeah, and finances, no doubt, causes a lot of stress, right? I mean,
Yes.
for a lot of people, both personally and in business. But again, if we accept change, accept fiscal responsibility, and know that it needs to be part of everything we do, and just embrace it and review it and tackle those challenges, I think it will lower, maybe the stress when it comes to something like finances. But it is real, right? And it affects us
Money's
every
real.
single day.
Money is real.
So we only have a few minutes left, and I mean, I would love to have a few hours with you to talk about a lot of these things, but we want to just touch on one quick topic on when it comes to culture and teams. And when we talk about our talent and the culture, how is it important? Is it at the beginning of creating your companies to set culture and to hire the right people? We hear that often, but from your experience and what you went through, can you quickly talk about the importance of culture and team when it comes to starting your companies and how it affected you, Amy?
It's absolutely critical. It is, in my viewpoint, it is everything, because that is what you're building upon. And, my goal was not to be the smartest one. It was to build as many brilliant people around me as I possibly can to come together to build the company. So I think understanding what each person's role is and their brilliance, and elevating them and building it with them, we wouldn't be here without the incredible team that we have. And so I think anybody, as you're looking at growing a business, you have to first look at yourself. What are you good at? What are you not good at? What do you want to be doing? And then where are the holes? And just bring in people that have, similar mindset on wanting to build something, but not similar in the sense of, I don't want yes men. I want people that are going to push and build things up. So from my standpoint, it's absolutely critical to have that brilliant team and the thought leaders around what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, and be really careful about when you bring people in that they fit that dynamic, and if they don't, then make adjustments quickly.
Tressa?
I am a firm believer that if you take care of the employees, they will take care of the customers. And in order to do that, you have to have a definitive culture, and your culture can be what you tolerate, it can be what you drive towards, and it can also be your intolerables. And I think that is something that you have to, every day, you have to cultivate your culture. You have to be very cognizant about, what do we stand for? Are we all growing in the same direction? Are we all augmenting each other? Are we all learning and growing and moving forward? And I think as a leader of a company, or a leader in your department, a leader in your job function, it's your responsibility to embrace that culture. And when you have a great culture, you can accomplish great things. But you have to actively be a part of that. And as a leader, you have to participate in that.
Great. Dan?
Yeah, it's super critical for us as well. And you asked at the beginning, for me personally, I wasn't as in tune to what we were looking for. We're very in tune now, and we start every cultural interview with setting the stage, saying, look, if you come here and you don't like it, you suffer. If you come here and it's not a fit for us, we suffer. So this interview is really a matter of eliminating suffering. That's all we're trying to do right now. And we want to discover who you are as a human and how you fit within our context, openness, commitment, etc. And we have a set of questions. Routinely, we get told that was one of the strangest interviews I've ever been part of, and yet it's the way we get at the essence of what worldviews or frames of reference might constrain them within our company. What ways of our showing up and what we ask from people would be a non-starter for them, for example. We do a lot of reading groups and learning groups, etc., to expand growth, and some people aren't into that. They just want a paycheck, and we're not about a paycheck, we're about creating abundance, and so that takes a different mindset. And for many people, we're a breath of fresh air, and for other people, they're like, I don't want any part of it. So it's very polarizing for us that way, and we try to leverage our interviewing process to make sure we distinguish that early. One of the other things that we've been using lately is we use a book called Tribal Leadership, and we look at the 5 stages that a person might be or a company might be. And stage 1, life sucks. Stage 2, my life sucks. Stage 3, I'm great, ... and you're not, which is majority of people, right? Through education and schooling, that's how we're taught, right? And for me to win, you must lose. And then stage 4 is we're great, and stage 5 is life is great. And so looking for people who are willing to set aside worldviews and frames of reference which they inherited. They didn't necessarily make a choice. It's where they grew up, it's the family they were raised in, it's the school they went to. Willing to look beyond that and say, what can I be for humanity, is a big deal for us in our culture. And that's globally. You get that when you travel the globe, people's concerns are the same. People's lives are the same. Now their cultural context may be different, but they're humans at their core. And so that is a big deal for us.
Great insight. And we have just 2 more minutes left, and I want to ask you, for those that are listening, we have a lot of small, medium-sized business owners that have maybe just got started or a few years into the process, or maybe even well established. But what's one piece of advice that you would give to our audience who's watching today on if they're looking to build a long-lasting company? What's one piece of advice that you would give them to help them that really made a difference in your environment that they could take with them today?
I would say stay tuned for Brent because if you've never been an entrepreneur or business owner, there's a lot of stuff that goes into understanding the processes around it. We used a different book that gave us the same kind of structure, but I've also read through Traction, and it's truly important to really put some structure in place and have a coach around you to help hold you accountable. In my earlier entrepreneurial days, I was pretty notorious for chasing squirrels, which is not super helpful. I'm way more focused these days, making sure things are clear, expectations are clear, not chasing everything because it looks like an opportunity. And having a structure in place like that will be critical for you to check in periodically, make sure, are we on the right track? Are we headed the right direction? Are we too attached? Are we committed? And how can we adjust? So definitely stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tenacity, be tenacious and, believe in what you have, but don't be stuck in your box. Be, as I said earlier, be willing to change lanes, but change lanes deliberately, right? Based on data and the information that you're getting from your clients, and be willing to fail. You've got to fail to know what to do right. So that ability to really go after something and not have it work out, so you can really look at that and assess why and make changes and adjust to win. So
I'm challenged to pick one, but I think I will say that I think you should hire people that are better than you are at some of your weaknesses, and be okay that somebody's better at something than you are, because nobody's great at everything. And if you can embrace that and be vulnerable at it and know that you have employees that can do something better than you do, that gives you the freedom to chase after your strengths. And together, if you're all understanding that, you're all okay with that, you build a great company. But you really have to get your head around, yes, you are the leader, but you're not great at everything. Embrace your team, challenge them, use their strengths, and together you'll be a great company.
So I say D, all of the above.
Yes.
Well,
fascinating.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being leaders in our community and making a difference. It's nice to see successful companies right here in the Treasure Valley that are really thriving, and your insight is really it's really important, especially in this day and age. So appreciate you being here. And with that, just like Dan said, stay tuned for Traction with Brent Odkin coming up next. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Wow, BBSI, where have you been these last 15 years in my life? Hi, my name is Mia Paulus, and I am the CEO of an outsourcing company called The Center. We have been looking for a strategic partner to help us with compliance for our clients, specifically payroll, HR, workers' comp, and safety. After meeting with Jason a couple of times, it was great to know a company cared as much about entrepreneurs and executives as we do. I learned how much BBSI cares about the success of businesses they work with, and we are experiencing fast growth here at the Center, and I'm excited to see what BBSI and the Center can do together to simplify business for our clients so they can have the success and the quality of life that they deserve.
We have an epidemic right now in our small businesses in this country. The events of 2020 have only made that worse. And the epidemic is that we struggle with making good decisions. In fact, great leaders are just really good at making decisions. And so what I want to talk about today is helping us figure out, how do we make good decisions? What is the process for that? The quote here from Gino Wickman says, the only reason that you have a problem is that you haven't made a decision. And if you think about it, it really is the case. In order to really think about how to make decisions, though, we have to get to the fundamentals of our business. And so I want you to think about your business, and I want you to look at the 6 key components to your business. First of all is the vision component. You have to be really clear where you're going and how you're going to get there. Most organizations struggle with understanding where they're going and making sure that everybody's on the same page. Usually we have not a lack of vision, but too much. Everybody has their own version of what we're trying to accomplish. You're not going to be able to achieve your vision, though, without great people. And so you need to understand, what does that mean for you? What does great people mean for your organization? You've got to cut through the subjectives, the A players, the superstars, the unicorns, and figure out what really constitutes a great person for your organization. Then we need to understand what's really happening. We've got to cut through the guesswork and just the assumptions and say, what really is happening in our organization? Are we going to hit our numbers? Are we going to go where we want to go or not? And have that clarity of our data. When your vision component is clear, your vision component or your people component is clear, and your data component is clear, you have clarity in the organization. Anything that's not right is going to just really stick out. And so that's great. Oftentimes we try to avoid issues, but we want to understand what our issues are. And that's where we get into the issues component. And the issues component is simply understanding what our issues are, setting them up, and then knocking them down, solving them, making them go away forever. Great leaders are actually just really good at solving their issues. The 5th component is the process component, and this is all about understanding the right and best way for you to be able to do what you do, the way you deliver your product or service. And this is weak in most organizations because we tend not to put a lot of value in the process component. It seems like a lot of work and not a lot of results, but it allows you to scale when you have the process component strong, and it allows you to be able to run the business in a much easier fashion, and it's a lot more enjoyable and ultimately a lot more profitable. And then finally, the traction component is all about taking your vision down to the ground. If you think about it, vision without traction is hallucination. And so we want to make sure that we understand that what our traction component, how strong our traction component is, how do we hold each other accountable, how do we make sure that we're making sure that getting things done on a week in, week out basis, quarter in, quarter out basis. Now the goal for that is to get to 100% strong in all of these components, and that's what the EOS model is about. This is about how do you get strong in each of those. But the reality is, in an entrepreneurial business, we're not going to get to 100%. So the goal is really to get to 80% strong or better in each of these components. Now, your business may vary as to where you're at in that. And there's an organizational checkup that you can take, and there's a resource I'll show you at the end that you can use to understand where you're at with that. Most organizations, though, are running at around 20% strong in these components. So let's look at how do we get strong in the right components for making decisions. So let's start with the vision component. You may be thinking, well, why are we talking about vision and strategic planning when we're trying to make decisions? But the reality is there's Gino Wickman, who developed EOS, came up with 4 key discoveries. I'm going to share 3 of them today. And one of them is you have to have clarity of vision. So for clarity of vision, you have to ask yourself and your leadership team and be on the same page with 8 questions. I'm going to share 5 of those today in our limited time, and they're found here on the Vision Traction Organizer. Let me walk through each one of them individually. The first is the core values. The core values are just who do you want to surround yourself with. They're the timeless principles that determine who you are and who you want to be around and what makes for the right employee for your organization. Your core focus is all about determining really what you're about in terms of your purpose, cause, or passion, and your niche. And so core focus is been called vision statement, mission statement, those types of things, but it's really core to who you are, and you need to stay laser focused on it. You also need to be clear on your long-term strategy, your 10-year target. Where are you going with this organization, as well as your marketing strategy? Who is your best and ideal customer, and how are you going to market to them? And then finally, the 3-year picture is about getting your leadership team 100% on the same page with where are you going with this organization. What's it look like from a profit perspective, a revenue perspective, key measurables, and just describe the organization. Great tool you can use for this is a blank legal pad or blank note card with your leadership team and ask them to answer those 3 questions of what your revenue is going to be in 3 years, your profit, and a key measurable, and see what answer you get. See if you get the same answer. I bet you won't. The next part of having clarity of vision is they have to share, everybody has to share that vision. So you have to be clear on what the vision is, but that everybody is in agreement with that and wants that vision. So that's 100% strong in the vision component. Next is the clarity break. That was the second discovery that Gino made, in that you have to understand where you're going with the business and what your challenges are. And the clarity break allows you to take time away from the busyness of the office and just take time to think. And so clarity breaks do 2 things. It gives you clarity as to what needs to happen, but it's also going to restore your confidence and allow you to be able to make better decisions. So how you do that is to just minimize distractions around you. Go to a coffee shop, go to your den, wherever you can stop and think, and just allow yourself to think. Grab a legal pad and a pen and just think about things that need to happen in your business, and just spend time. Making this time is going to save you a lot of time in the long run. And so take the time, put it on your calendar, and actually deliver on that for yourself. The third key discovery was these 10 bad decision-making habits that people make. And so there's 10 commandments that I'm going to share with you real quickly on how to make good decisions. These are the 10 commandments of making good decisions. So first is thou shalt not rule by consensus. Group consensus decision-making is the best way to run you out of business. You need to not rule by consensus. Second, thou shalt not be a weenie. You've got to be able to make decisions. You've got to be able to have the will and the strength to make the tough decision. 3, thou shalt be decisive. You've got to be able to make a decision quickly and change it slowly. 4, thou shalt not rely on secondhand information. If all the parties for an issue are not together, then you can't solve that issue. You need to get everybody together in order to solve that issue. 5, thou shalt fight for the greater good. You've got to get past your emotions and your ego and your past beliefs, and you've got to be able to fight for the greater good of the company. What's the best thing for the company? 6, thou shalt not try to solve them all. Solve the root issue, and the symptoms are going to go away. 6, thou shalt choose short-term pain and suffering. There's 2 types of pain and suffering, long-term and short-term. Choose short-term. 8 is thou shalt live with it, end it, or change it. There's no other options. 9, thou shalt enter the danger. The issue that you fear the most is the one that you really need to be dealing with and resolving. And 10, thou shalt take a shot. You need to just step up and propose a solution. Now, those are the 10 commandments of decision making. And those are the 3 of the 4 discoveries. The 4th discovery is in an ebook that I'll share with you in the resource pages here in a second. But let's talk about the issues component for a second and the process for how do we go about making decisions. And like I said earlier, great leaders are just really good at solving their issues. And so digging into the issues component, there's two components, 2 tools that I want to share with you here. First is the issues list. And the issues list is just the discipline of being able to uncover all the issues that are going on in the organization, what kind of impurities or imperfections, any obstacles or barriers, things that are really slowing you down, and being able to grab those issues and call them out. Then we want to be able to solve those issues. We want to be able to figure out what the root cause of each of those issues are and make them go away forever. The way we do that is what we call the issue solving track, or IDS. So let's look at that a little bit closer. IDS, the issue solving track. IDS stands for identify, discuss, and solve. Now, if you've ever been in a business meeting and you've ever talked to, had a conversation with more than one person in a room, we probably jump right to discuss. You've probably experienced this. It's just, we want to jump right in and just start talking, and our conversation goes on tangents. We really don't get a lot resolved, and we're not as effective in our meetings as we could be. So there's a better way of doing that. What we want to do is we want to take our issues list and we want to prioritize our issues. So we want to start just putting a list together, our issues list together. Then we want to go in and we want to prioritize 1, 2, 3, just the top 3, and we'll tackle those one at a time. Now, it's important to note we don't start at the top and go down. We just pick whatever's the most important issue, and then we take it through the issue solving track. So we go into identify. Identify is all about really getting to the root cause of the issue. What happens is we oftentimes will throw out an issue and we just start talking about it. But the problem is that issue is usually a symptomatic issue. It's not a root cause issue. So what you want to do is get the discipline of being able to say what really is the issue. In one sentence, what is the issue that we're dealing with, and how are we going to then make sure that everybody's on the same page with that issue. Then we can move to discuss. A large part of your time with an issue should be on the identify stage. If you're jumping in and most of your time is on discuss, you're in that first phase of just discussing and discussing and discussing. So once you've identified the issue, then move to discuss. Say what you need to say one time, more than once in your politicking. So just say what needs to be said. When the conversation starts to get redundant, then move to solve. Like I said earlier, identify should take the majority of the time. Discuss and solve should go rather quickly. Solve will end up with usually a to-do of some sort to take care of that. Once that issue is solved, then go to the next issue. Take issue number 2, run it back through the program, through the issue solving track, and then go on to issue number 3. 100% strong in the issues component means you have your issues list compiled, and there are several different issues lists that you'll have in an organization. You're going to have issues that you're going to deal with this quarter, things as a leadership team that you need to be talking about and addressing this quarter. The other is issues that you're not going to deal with this quarter, long-term issues. And so you want to make sure you capture those and hold those issues as well, but you're not going to deal with them right now. And then the third area is your departments. Your departments are going to have issues that they're going to be resolving, and you want them to be able to bring issues up, everybody in the organization, to bring issues up, smoke things out, and then resolve them at what they can at the department level. What they can't can move up to the leadership team level, and then you can solve them there. So there was a lot here, and it was a compressed amount of time. I understand there's a QR code here that you can scan, as well as a link to a resource page, prophetcreek.com/decide. On there is a Decide ebook. The Decide ebook is a free resource that, thanks to the sponsors, it's available to you to download. And what that does is gives you a lot more details about what I talked about today. It also will give you the 4th key discovery that Gino made in making great decisions. Also, there's a link to take an organizational checkup. The organizational checkup is a great resource. Again, it's a free resource that you can take to really get a picture of the health of the organization. Takes you through the 20 questions to just kind of get a good read on your business. And I would encourage you to take that, but also have your leadership team take that, or everybody in your organization for that matter. But be sure to have them be open and honest with their responses. It doesn't do any good to take that and make yourself feel better. You want to get clarity as to what areas that you're weak in and what components that you can develop. And then you're also welcome to schedule a call with me. If you have additional questions and something specific to your business that maybe this didn't quite mesh with your business that you want to talk about, schedule a call with me. I'm happy to spend a few minutes with you and help get you more clarity on that. Let me conclude by just simply saying, you're in deciding for your business, as a leader, you play a pivotal role in our community. It's so important that you are at the top of your game, not only in your business, but also for the families whose lives are in your care. And the ability to decide is a huge part of that. And so I really encourage you, take the time to utilize these resources and make good decisions. Thank you.
If you're looking to grow your bottom line, join us to gain resources on growth strategies, social media, fraud protection, workplace culture, hiring, and more. Register to attend Business Builder Day, a free event for business professionals, May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center.
Thanks again for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed Business Builder Insights. We want you to join us again on November 18th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., where we'll have our third installment of Business Builder Insights. The topic will be understanding the metrics needed to drive profit. So we look forward to seeing you again on November 18th. Thanks again for joining us today.